So yeah, it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, but finally we're back here today to do another video on another great year of music. So hello and yes, welcome back to another video. Now it's actually my second time filming this because I thought I had 20 albums earlier and I filmed the video, and then when I realised, I got about halfway through the video and I was holding up an album and I realised it was from 1978. And of course the year that I want to talk about today is 1979. So it's my second time refilming the video. But anyway, I'm here, I'm game, we're going to do it. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. I've done two and they were kind of back to back, and that's it, I haven't done one for like 3 weeks. But I do want to carry on with these videos, so I was kind of pushing myself into doing another one, because I got positive feedback, and I was really pleased that everyone enjoyed the first two. And I picked a very, very difficult year. I thought, I was listening to an album from 1979 the other day. I'll tell you what album it is when we get to it. And I was kind of listening to it, and I'm going, oh, I want to talk about this album a bit. But I was like, I didn't feel like I knew enough about the album to review it. So I thought, I'll do a video on the year it came out. That way I can put it in my ranking, and then we can talk about it when we come to it. So I thought, okay, let's do 1979, let's do this. And I was kind of going through my collection, picking out these albums, and I'm thinking, the good albums were really kind of the surprising ones. You know, these bands were not the huge, I mean, they're very popular still, but they were not the ones that you expected to have the big popular albums. The bands that you expected, and the artists who expected to have the huge popular albums, generally their albums were a bit disappointing in 1979. You know, I've heard a few people say in the VC that 1979, while it was still a great year for music, it was a bit of a disappointing one from those beloved big artists. And I can't say I disagree too much, but you know, there's so much good music that come out this year as well. You know, I mean, it's still a great year for music. And of course, before I get started, I do also want to say I'm going to miss a load of albums. The Eagles, The Clash, London Calling, you know, I just want to put in albums that I've heard from start to finish at least once. And whereas I have heard a few things off the Eagles album, I forget what one came out that year, the black cover, the title's escaping me, and of course I have heard a few songs off London Calling. I don't own the album, and, you know, I haven't heard it. I don't have a good enough memory of, I don't think I played it from start to finish, to be honest, so it's unfair to put that album in. And of course I'm going to be missing some other great albums, I know I am, and I know this list would be completely different if I'd heard every single album from 1979. So be sure to let me know in the comments of some albums which I should check out from 1979 which didn't make the list, because at the minute I've got 19 albums, as I say, which I've heard from 1979, which I can comment on. I really wanted to get the 20, I really did, but couldn't quite make it. So 19 albums, yes. So we're going to go from least to best, in my opinion, of course. And as I say, you guys, like the last video on the John Lennon review, you guys are more than welcome just to let me know in the comments on your opinions. And, you know, I respect all your guys' opinions, and that's all it is. But anyway, here we go. We're going to get started. So coming in at number 19 is an album which generally I really don't like. I actually always thought this was an 80s release, an early 80s one, because it really looks and sounds like an early 80s release. But from what the internet told me, this one actually came out in 1979. I had a hard time believing it, but that's what the internet told me. And it is Elton John's Victim of Love. And yeah, generally don't have many good things to say about this album. There's only one song on here which I like, and that is Victim of Love, the title track. The rest of it on here really just doesn't do anything for me. And he actually does a cover of Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good, which is perhaps the worst cover I've ever heard of a song. So, yeah, not a very good start there to our list. But anyway, that's Elton John's Victim of Love. Next one up, I don't want to speak too harshly on this album, because I really respect this musician, because he come out of one of the world's biggest bands, and he moved away from them to go into a solo career. And, you know, not many people knew this artist by his name. He more or less knew the band he was in. But, you know, he went very experimental with this album. It's very prog sounding, very unique. So I really respect him. But generally the vocals, yeah, you know, they're not, the vocals, the songs, sorry. You know, they're not awful, really. They're not. I mean, but it's just not one of my favourite albums. And yeah, it's Steve Hackett's third album. I believe it's his third. I generally do prefer his first ones. But this is, you know, it's still an interesting listen, of course. But yeah, not the best album. Okay, so there's that one. The next one up, of course, is going to be an album which I'm sure a lot of people would actually put very high. But for me, I like this musician. I do like him. But I'm not a big fan of him. I mean, I like his music to an extent, but I'm not one of these diehard fans, if you like. But, you know, this is a good album still. It's a good album. It's got a lot of enjoyable tracks on. But for me, I prefer the albums which I'm putting before it, obviously. And that's Bob Dylan's Slow Train Coming. So, you know, not too bad of an album really from Dylan. I definitely prefer his album before this, Desire. That's always been my go-to Dylan album. I love that one. And the next one up is quite a difficult album for me to talk about because I love this artist. I really do. And I love the album that came before this to bits. It's one of my most favourite albums. And this album, while it is good, it is still good. Disappointing. There's that word again. Compared to the last release by this guy. And it's Stevie Wonder and The Secret Life of Plants. Let me go this side because the light is just coming in here. Let me see if I can pull this blind down a bit. There we are. Look at that. That's much better. But anyway, so Stevie Wonder, Songs in the Key of Life. Yeah, as I say, guys, you know, it's a good album. It's still got some great bits on, definitely. But very instrumental based album, that's for sure. The whole first side is instrumental, but one track. You know, it's a good album still. It is a good album, but again, just prefer the other albums which I'm listing above this one. The next one in is definitely gets the award for most disappointing album, I think. And I know there's going to be people out there who really disagree with me, but I really feel that compared to the previous two albums that this band done and the hype that this album was getting when it came out, I can only imagine how fans felt. And yeah, I played it, and this one, you know, there's too much effort went into making this one. But saying that, there are still some great moments on it. It is still an enjoyable album at times, and that is Tusk. So yeah, I mean, it's an enjoyable album, as I said. There's still some good moments, but it's just lacking something. It just feels like too much work's gone into it. It's just too overproduced. The next album up is an interesting one because this was a blind buy. I literally bought this one at a record fair about 4 or 5 months back, maybe. And generally, I can't lie, it was cheap. I weren't expecting to like it too much. But I got home and I played it and I was like, wow. Wow, this is unique. That's the best word I can use to describe it, actually. Unique. I was, I was listening to this record and I'm thinking, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. You can tell they were absolutely wiped off their head on drugs during the making of this album. Same time, it was so enjoyable because it was so weird and wacky. And I kind of feel a bit bad because I haven't got any more records from this guy since I got this one. But I love this so much. I really did get into it. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the title, but it is Frank Zappa's 1979 album. I think he released 2 albums this year, so... But anyway, it's that one. Yeah, that one. But yeah, surprisingly, a very good album. And the next one up, again, will be very high on a lot of other people's lists. And for me, I get it. This album is great. I mean, this is an album which you really have to take as a whole. You have to listen to it all in one go. Kind of like the Tommy... the Who's Tommy. I was about to say the Tommy's Who. But yeah, it's kind of like you have to listen to it all in one go. Take it as it is. And definitely I respect that. That's what you've got to do with this album. And if you take it like that, this album is fantastic. But saying that, I'm mainly doing this video on how much I enjoy these albums. There's too many weak spots on it. There's too many moments where I just want to flick the needle across or I want to fall asleep. Saying that, there are some absolute highlight moments which are incredible, so I don't want to rag on this album too much. But coming in next is going to be Pink Floyd's The Wall. You know, very good album for Pink Floyd. You know, one of their was, well, I won't say, but a lot of their albums were pretty successful, so I shouldn't say that. But one of their more, it was one of their biggest albums, definitely. So it's a very, very good album from Pink Floyd, that's for sure. And it's got some great songs, you know, Another Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb. But yeah, there's just a couple of moments on it where I don't get into it too much. So yeah, I had to put that one down the list a bit. The next one up is going to be, this is Setting Suns by The Jam. Now, I can't lie, I'm still pretty new to this. I only got this one about 3 weeks back from my very good friend in Scotland, Ross Goodall, as VCLT. So thanks again for that, Ross. But yeah, I mean, it's a good album. It's really good. There aren't any bad tracks on here, if I'm being honest. You know, it's just a very easy listening, good album. The only thing which I have against this album is it kind of feels like, you know, this is a problem which I have with, like, bands like, I don't know, I'm trying to think now off the top of my head, like Status Quo. I don't like Status Quo, I'm not going to lie, I'm not a Quo fan. But, you know, one of the things which I never liked about Quo is how they were very consistent with their sound all the time. And I like consistency, but when you're listening to an album, not so much. You want to get a slow song, then you want to get a fast one. You want to get a bit of a good vibe, a good flow through the album. And while I'm a much bigger fan of The Jam than I am of Status Quo, they are kind of a bit guilty on this album of that too, where the flow, you know, it's not too bad, but you know, hey, I mean, it's getting quite high in the list. I mean, what number is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not super high, but it's, you know, at least it's not at the bottom. So it's a very good album. It's beaten some remarkable albums, really. So I obviously do enjoy it quite a bit. So it's a very good album. The next one up, quite a, you know, again, 79, but this one has one of those 80s feels again. You know, really can tell you're going into that 80s sound now, especially with this record. And while I like the early stuff from this band a lot more, I still enjoy their later stuff. I don't want to sound like one of these fans. I am talking about the Bee Gees. I don't want to sound like one of these fans where it's like, oh, I only like the early stuff. I don't like all that high-pitched stuff. You know, I do prefer the early stuff, but the later stuff, you know, it's not that bad. It's still enjoyable. There's nothing wrong with it. So I don't want to brag too much, but this album, again, it has that pretty kind of consistent feel again. But the reason it's getting quite high is because of the song Tragedy, because I absolutely adore that song. And of course we're talking about Spirits Haven't Flown. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, Spirits Haven't Flown. Yeah, I knew that. So yeah, it's a good album. Good album, enjoyable one. I actually have a picture disc of this, so I must like it somewhat. The next one up, again, I've never really spoken too highly about this guy in the past, so I'm sure people are going to be surprised to see him making my list and getting this high up on the list. But what can I say? This is an enjoyable album, even though, and as I say, I'm not a huge fan of the guy. If you just take the music and you forget about who you're listening to, the music is fun. The music is enjoyable. That's all I want, really. It's Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. And, of course, this album here, it's a weird angle, you know. That's technically the right way up because it opens up this side and the spine's on this side. So you have to turn it again this way to get the songs. But then it looks like I'm holding it upside down. But anyway, songs on this one, you know, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. What an incredible song. And then you've got Get on the Floor. That one's a little bit cringy, actually, but I enjoy it. Off the Wall is great, and then he does a cover of Paul McCartney's Girlfriend, which is pretty good. The song, he does a cover of Paul McCartney's actual girlfriend. But anyway, that's good. And the next one up is by a band which, again, I absolutely love, but I do feel this is one of their weaker albums. It's not quite as good as an album that they would have yet to come, Synchronicity. But anyway, this is great. It's the Police here with... But the main thing I want to say about this album is it has its weak moments. It's a very bumpy album. But this album has Message in a Bottle. I'm sorry, but what more do I have to say? I mean, come on. Come on, Message in a Bottle. I mean, what an epic song. Anyway, what number are we on now? I keep on getting lost here. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 albums to go. Yeah, 8 albums. Yeah, okay, okie dokie. So next one up, again, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of this band. I like them, but I don't really know them that well. I have a feeling I will be a big fan when I get to know them more, because they're definitely right up my street for their style of playing. I love that kind of bluesy, slow rock sound, like Eric Clapton. Damn, it's such a shame Eric didn't put an album out this year. But anyway, well, 1979. He does have one coming out this year, 2016. I still do, so go buy it. But anyway, I'm getting off track. They kind of have a bit of a similar feel here, this band, and as I say, I'm still getting to know them, but I really did enjoy this album, and it's Dire Straits. It's, I can't say I like the album cover much though, but when you put this record on, it's brilliant. Martin Knopfler is just a genius, so definitely worth checking that one out. Okay, what we down to? Number 7. Yep, number 7. Pretty sure I was right. So coming in at number 7, of course, here we go. The first of the 2 solo Beatle albums released in 79. And it's going to be the Paul McCartney and Wings release with Back to the Egg. So really good to get this album from Paul, I think, because I wasn't a big fan of London Town, I can't lie, but it was still a good album, because, Paul never really disappoints. Has he disappointed us with any album? Maybe the Russian album, but other than that, I don't think Paul's ever really disappointed us with an album too much. I guess people are going to say, the Fireman records, Driving Rain. But, for me, occasionally I don't mind. There's a couple songs on each of them albums, so I wouldn't call them disappointments. Just look at it as a single with a lot of filler. But anyway, this album here was great for Paul to come back with. It's got some great tracks on. I just want to name a couple on here because, when I got into music, I was very big on the Beatles, so I can't lie. I do know this album pretty well. So I can actually go into a bit of detail on this one. So I'll say, I'm Getting Closer, Again and Again and Again, Old Same Sir, Arrow Through Me, and Baby's Request are all great songs. So good release there from Paul. Good one. Okie dokie, this is the last one before we hit the top 5, and again this would be quite high on most people's lists, and again it's quite high for me, but yeah, not quite making the top 5, but anyway, this is Elvis Costello and the Attractions Armed Forces. Now, before I start talking about the music, look at that cover. That is a damn good cover. In fact, I'm making it the thumbnail right now. So anyway, this is an incredible record. And there's so many good songs on here. Just each song kind of flows into the next. It's so fun and entertaining. Really kind of has a bit of a more polished Jam feel, actually. Talking about the Jam earlier, it does sound similar, just a bit more polished. And again, the album cover is brilliant. The cover kind of opens up and it looks all cool. So, great record there. Absolutely great. So then, top 5 now, and if I put my hand here, I can see my time. So we're at 18 minutes, so I really should get a move on now. So top 5 is going to be the other solo Beatle release from 1979, and of course it is the self-titled George Harrison album. And this is just a great one. Again, Love Comes to Everyone, Here Comes the Moon, which is a spoof on Here Comes the Sun, of course. Blow Away, which is amazing. If You Believe, which is great. And my favourite track on here, Faster. Great album there. Next album up, I think people will be surprised to see make it so high, because this is the album I was talking about at the start of the video, where I listened to it the other day and was so pleasantly surprised, because people put this album down a lot. They say, it's nowhere near as good as their early stuff, and it's true, I do prefer the early stuff, but this is a great album. This is a great album. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I can't say it's my favourite from them, because their early albums are just the best. But this record really is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And that's In Through the Outdoor by Led Zeppelin. And, it's just the opening track done it for me, really, in the evening. Fantastic. But then I like Fall in the Rain, Hot Dog, and then, of course, All My Love. Great, great album. Absolute masterpiece. Okay, so in the top 3. Now, in this album here, I'm actually pretty new to, I'll say. But I only listened to it twice, really, but I loved it. It was Absolutely incredible. And it's an album which you might know called Breakfast in America. Anyone know that? I mean, it was only a minor hit. I'm only kidding. Supertramp, of course, here it is. Look at that. Oh my god, there it is, Supertramp. What an album. Just, honestly, incredible. It's classic. It's, it's kind of like... Oh, I don't know how to describe it, really. It's like another Rumours for 1979. It's like this classic just kind of comes out of nowhere, and it was like, wow. Wow. What an album. Brilliant stuff. Love it. Okay, top two. So coming in at number 2 is going to be by one of my favourite bands, which I'm actually going to see in concert next week, which I'm actually the lead guy, which I'm so excited for, and I know my friend in Scotland again, Ross Goodall, is going to see them tonight. So I hope you have a good time, buddy. And that's going to be by the Electric Light Orchestra with Discovery. I mean, this album here was incredible. I mean, Shine a Little Love, Confusion, Diary of Horace Wimp, and Don't Bring Me Down, all hits. I just want to say Diary of Horace Wimp. Incredible. And then I'll point out Need Her Love and Last Train to London as well, because they're great songs as well. So, yeah, had to make it very high on the list. But anyway, coming in at number 1, of course, in my contest entry for my own contest, as you guys know, I didn't put my name in the hat or anything, but I wanted to take part, where I asked people to pick a decade of their choice, pick their favourite album from each year inside that decade. I did the 70s, and for 1979 I picked this album, and I'm going to stick with it. And that's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Damn the Torpedoes. Refugee, Here Comes My Girl, Louisiana Rain, You Tell Me, What You Doing in My Life. This album is badass. It is incredible. Absolutely love it. So anyway, there you go, guys. That is my least to best out 19 albums which I actually have heard from 1979. I know people are going to disagree with the order, so of course let me know in the comments what your order would be of some of those albums. And of course, I know I've missed some albums, so make sure you let me know in the comments of the albums I need to check out from that year. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
This is your life.